Alright, today's movie is something called Ranma 1/2, the movie Big Trouble in Nekonron, China. Ah, what a mouthful. Well, I guess when I reach into a grab bag that contains every animated thing in creation, more often than not I'm going to pull out something obscure. Let me see if I can do this Ranma 1/2, a show I really have no connection with, the justice that it deserves. I apologize to all the die-hard fans in advance. Sonic? Why are you going nuts? Whoa, what the? I didn't even know it could do this. Why are you pulling? Okay, I'll follow you, I guess. Why do I own all of these ugly-ass shirts? Okay, after a completely pointless interruption from the sonic screwdriver, thanks a lot. Just for the purposes of this review, I went and I watched the entire Ranma 1/2 catalog. Episodes, OAVs. You see how committed I am? You're welcome! I now understand this property inside and out. It's kinda out the box, but I would imagine the premise was a lot more radical back in the 90s than today.
It's about a 16-year-old boy, Ranma Saotome, who fell under a Chinese curse which causes he to turn into a girl whenever he touches cold water. When he touches hot water, he changes back. He is in an arranged marriage with a young girl by the name of Akane Tendo, who is so butch and tomboyish she may as well be asexual. The ultimate goal for Ranma is to someday return to China and find the cure for his affliction, but along the way a giant cast of screwballs are going to rain on his parade.
That's about it. I could go into further detail, but I'm not reviewing the series, I'm reviewing the movie. Let's see what I think about Ranma 1/2 the movie, and all that other stuff.
The plot goes like this. It's just another typical day at the Tendo residence, as an old panty-stealing hermit named Happosai has caused such a ruckus in the streets of Narima, Japan, it culminates in a giant slaughterous parade hot on poor Ranma's heels. Amidst the silliness enters Lai Chi, a young elephant-riding Chinese girl who is hunting Happosai down. She was given by Happosai a magical scroll split in two. It is said the lady whom would find this scroll would become the betrothed of the leader of the fabled 7 lucky gods, Prince Kirin, and live a life of riches and comfort for the rest of her days. Turns out the prince never came, and Lai Chi is pissed off. After a brief fracas, Akane Tendo ends up with the scroll in her possession, and at that key moment, Prince Kirin arrives. He kidnaps Akane and flies away with her in a blimp arc of some sort. Now it is up to Ranma, his friends, and fair Lai Chi to chase the airship to the faraway land of Nekonron, China, challenge each of the 7 lucky gods Street Fighter style, and intercept that wedding. Will Ranma save Akane before it's too late? Will Lai Chi convince Kirin that she is his true beloved? All these questions and more will be answered in Ranma 1/2 the movie. Yada yada yada.
That's it. Now to start the dissection process. But before I could start pulling this one apart, I should probably describe the scale on which I'm grading here. For a movie based on an existing TV property, I expect an upgrade in all areas, be it animation, art, plot, whatever. It's all gotta be better. After all, this is going from a small stage to a gigantic arena, right?
Everything should be bigger. SpongeBob did it right. Transformers did it right. And I'll even go so far to say that something like the Wild Thornberries may not have lit the world on fire, but at least they tried. This movie doesn't try. It looks about par with the series I just watched, if not a bit worse. In fact, the OAV series presentation was way better than this. I wish it looked like that.
If there is one single solitary area in which this movie proves itself to be an astounding failure, it's the animation.
It is not bad by, say, TV standards. As y'all know by now, I do rather enjoy the traditional cel-shaded style of older animation. And compared to the computer-animated dreck of present day, this is very much a step up. But like I said earlier, this is an animated movie. If it couldn't be top-notch, it should at least be a step up in quality. And it doesn't take a genius to see that this is nowhere near as good as this, or this. The time this was made, the series was exploding over in Japan. Where is the animation budget? My personal rule of thumb in any animated movie, I should be impressed at least twice. Transformers the movie. There's the Quintesson ship landing, looks fucking amazing, and the Junkion ship rising out of the garbage. Done and done. This movie? Well, there's a brief section in the middle where the animation is kinda fluent, if not a little jerky, which, let me bring up, is a stretch. And that's it. Weak.
That's right. If there is one single solitary area in which this movie fails, it's the animation. And the art. The animation and the art.
For the most part, the characters in this movie resemble their series counterparts, but something seems a little off. It doesn't seem near as polished. Look at Kieran's clothes, the lackluster design lines on his cape. If they had made those lines thicker with a border or something, that would have looked cool. A lot of times, where the animation starts to look a little better, the art looks a little worse. It's real weird, that balance. It's either one or the other. Look here as Ranma's fingers disappear to form a big flesh-colored mitten. This kind of thing happens a lot post-season 3, where the animation of the series started to suffer, particularly with feet. Toes became a thing of the past, a needless detail. This, let me remind you, is a movie, a feature film. This is inexcusable.
Yes, the single solitary area in which this movie fails is the art. And the animation. And the color. Yeah, the color too. And I understand there might be a lot of people out there who consider this a nitpick, but I personally find this to be one of the movie's most glaring flaws.
The color palette is so dull and ugly, and I cannot fathom the reason why. This is a globe-trotting adventure. We should be immersed in a world of color. But no! The color here is akin to Fist of the North Star, which, need I remind you, took place in a post-apocalyptic world of death! This is a world of whimsy I hate looking at. Even something as simple as Ranma's red shirt, it's not the right tone. Why? Why is this a problem? Why would a lighthearted series such as this ever use dull colors on purpose? Does red dye number 5 cost that much more than store brand? You know what I would dare say? That if not for the murky color of this movie, I would consider the overall look to be merely unremarkable. But as it is, it just manages to pass that threshold from unremarkable to just plain bad. You know, I bet I know what they did.
Hello? Yeah, I'm the guy doing that Ranma 1/2 thing. I like to order some paint for the cells, you know. Yeah, how much you want for the red, the blue, the yellow, 18 ounces each, express ordered over here for today? How much? That's insane! Alright, you know what? Give me half of that, 9 ounces each. Yeah, don't worry about me, alright? I'll make do. Yeah, fine. Highway frickin' robbery. Yeah, saving money.
So the presentation is pretty far from great, but that's not to say that it's all the pits. The main voice cast, as usual, brings its A game. Sarah Strange will always be Ranma Saotome to me. And no, I don't mean girl-type Ranma. Here we have a female voice actress playing the role of a male main character. This is one of the most hit-and-miss prospects in all of voice casting. Either you sound great, like Bart Simpson, or sound like a girl doing a voice, like Jimmy Neutron. Sarah Strange's delivery is a risky venture that paid off big time. This voice is so iconic and awesome! I would swear that this was a young boy delivering these lines. Those moments where Ranma loses his cool, you can hear that little rasp in his voice, delivered expertly every time.
What are you talking about? This fight ain't over, not by a long shot, you jerk!
That's taking nothing away from Venus Terzo, the voice of girl-type Ranma. She is perfectly cast as well, particularly masterful in those wild, frantic moments.
What'd you do that for? Akane, can't you just hear me out for once?
Who'd have thought we'd ever get such manic energy from the voice of Princess Lana? Hey, I knew her from someplace! And finally, rounding out the main cast is Miriam Surwai, the voice of Akane Tendo. Another genius delivery. She can do it all, from tender emotional moments to moments where she is literally growling in anger.
What on earth are you lunatics talking about?
I have looked. Oh, trust me, I have looked. You will find few voice actresses better than Miriam Surwai. The rest of the cast serves its purpose well. Michael Donovan as Ryoga Hibiki, Ted Cole as Tatewaki Kuno, Paul Dobson as Happosai, they are all here to play. The one complaint I have is whoever did the voice of Lychee. Maybe it's partially the writing, but I hated this character, and I feel like the voice is a big reason why.
You have nerve to ask Lychee for rhyme? Lychee much angry you steal Prince away from her!
She tries the same shampoo speech impediment and, I don't know, coupled with this screechy delivery, it plain doesn't work, and it makes the character seem whiny and of low intelligence. I remember having the same problem with Ling Ling and Lung Lung from this series. Maybe that Chinese broken English speech pattern is something Shampoo and only Shampoo can touch. I don't know. Music is great, no complaints there. They do a great job selling the mood, most notably during the manic mob scene in the opening, which I'm sure I'll get to in a bit. The manic energy of that da-da-da-da!
Come back here!
You better believe that shit's on my iPod. The score when we reach Nekonron is equally impressive. Whenever the 7 lucky gods grace the screen, you get this exotic score which sounds like something out of a Conan the Barbarian movie. And the theme song to this flick, it's Love by Rabbit. You know what? Scratch that. This ain't no theme song. Theme song is not a powerful enough term. This is an anthem. I can't help but air guitar whenever I hear this. This is rock and roll at its finest. This song resonates with me, and I don't even understand a lick of Japanese. Except for Nanda, Baka, and Kuso! To click on this high a level on melody alone, that's quite the accomplishment.
This movie so far has been a swinging scale of good versus bad, and as of now it looks like the bad is hanging just a little bit lower. But a movie is really only as good as its plot. Maybe the plot can rescue this movie from the wrath of my dreaded sonic screwdriver.
If you were attached to the Ranma characters, as I have become, is this a story you would enjoy? Personally, I cannot answer that question without going through a checklist. The original concepts of the series, are they implemented well? No, not here. In fact, they are not implemented at all. If you were a newbie going into this, you could easily forget Ranma turns into a girl. To me, that is too important a concept to brush under the rug. It should always be a central dilemma. I hate to jump ahead, but look at the sequel. Not only are our heroes chasing after a bottle of magical water that can cure their respective curses, but for a lot of the movie, Ranma is traveling incognito as a female, infiltrating the villain's lair. This movie has nothing like that. It feels a little like they do the Jusenkyo transformations just to get them out of the way because they know that's what the fans want to see. That is a failure in my mind. As for the other various staples of the series, the relationship between Ranma and Akane is scraped a bit, but for the most part brushed over like it's a non-thing. The only thing that diehards have to grab onto is the trope of Akane getting kidnapped, which they might be sick of by now.
Moving right along, we are plopping these well-known characters into this grand plot, Is this familiar enough for longtime fans of the series? No. Again, no. I wonder if the people who animated this had ever seen an episode of the series.
Nothing looks anywhere comparable to the series. We are at the Tendo Dojo for such a short period of time, and even while we're there, it doesn't look the same. I wonder if fans of the series watching this movie for the first time would go through the same thought process as I did. At first glance, this is pretty damn cool, right? You're used to these characters all playing on such a small stage, and now here they are on this huge odyssey of sorts. But the more I thought about it, the more I rebelled against this concept. What we have here is a Tom and Jerry the movie situation. The big story happening here doesn't belong to Ranma and company. They are involved by proxy. Ranma and Akane are little more than bystanders to the plight of these new boring characters they threw in. It's non-canon, so that immediately means that there's no stakes. Nothing that happens here is going to affect the status quo. It's a standalone thing. It's not like Kieran and company are sticking around after this. What I really wish, instead of taking the small ideas of Ranma 1/2 and throwing they into something bigger, was if they took those small ideas and made them bigger. I paid to see a Ranma movie! Let's see the dojo, let's see Furinken High School, let's see the whole town of Narima! Let's have a plot that actually involves all these elements, because otherwise you get a non-homogenized mess. Two very different ideas clashing and not coalescing. The mob scene in the opening is madcap fun, and is great for series newbies and hardcore fans alike. What we have is a devilishly clever escalation of mishaps. It starts out innocent enough, with Ranma chasing the lecherous panty thief Happosai, but as the two run throughout town, all the series regulars join in the fun for their own nefarious reasons. This 5-minute scene is a hysterical rush of fan service, and is fun as hell to watch. But, and this is a bigger but than Brudda Is, this is the only series familiarity you are going to get, and it's on fast forward. This, right here, is what we tuned in for, and it's been amped up, stuffed with sugar, and prematurely ejaculated right at the very beginning. And from here on out, it's the Ranma 1/2 version of Lawrence of fucking Arabia. Okay, well, what about its humor? This movie is technically a comedy, so do the yucks fire on all cylinders? This is a bit dicey since humor is subjective, but I don't recall laughing too much during this one. The series' sense of humor is still there, but muted somewhat in this semi-serious plot. I can see the humor, I know what is supposed to be funny, but a lot of it is just lost on me. They do this recurring bit where Kieran and the 7 lucky gods eat a steady diet of rice and pickled vegetables. This is all they eat, they love eating it, and when the prince tries to eat something else, he gets sick. Rice and pickled vegetables.
Why is that funny? Because... pickle. Pickle!
Okay, so far this movie is not hitting my checklist with the greatest of success. How about character balance? We who know Ranma have our own personal favorite characters. Oftentimes they aren't the majors. I happen to like Moose, for example. Is there enough for Moose and all the other lesser characters to do? Not even close. If I were to grade the character balance in this film, not only would I give it an F, but a low F. A G! The whole plot is centered around a small group of characters. Ranma, Akane, Kieran, Lychee, and Happosai. That's it. All the other characters are here, but they may as well go to hell. They are to be listed as cameos. True, they are hitting all their character beats. Ryoga is lost, Kuno is chasing after Ranma, but their screen time is so limited and they are so scrambling to get in their shtick. It's almost like they're all on speed or something. And these lesser characters, Ryoga, Kuno, Shampoo, Moose, the parents, their small little group right there, we're lucky to have them in these nonsensical sight gags and assorted filler, because all the other characters we know from the series, Ukyo, Kodachi, Cologne, all here and gone in the blink of an eye within that opening mob scene. It's almost like they're promising us Ranma 1/2, but they're not giving us Ranma 1/2.
Can this movie do anything right? The plot, it's pretty basic. It's taking an existing Chinese mythos and incorporating it into the Ranma One-Half world, something they're renowned for doing, basing it around your typical Akane is kidnapped and being forced to wed storyline. But there are some great things to happen along the way.
I love the idea that Ranma has to face the 7 lucky gods, one at a time, all at their respective temples. That's fresh and different. Feels almost like a video game. True, I wish they didn't cheat so often, such as 2 slots being taken up by the twins, and the Wu battle being, well, not so much a battle, but I like the different challenges Ranma has to overcome, each radically different than the last. And just because so many of our favorite characters are pushed to the back burner, doesn't mean the ones we are stuck with are no good. I love Ranma! He's a great main character! And even though he's like a fish out of water in this tale, he's still the same guy. He's still got that lovable arrogance and cocky swagger. This plot is trying to bury him in cement, but he keeps poking his pigtailed head through. You just can't keep a good man down!
So, is this movie any good? Or is it a steaming pile of mackerel jerky? That's an in-joke, by the way. You're gonna have to, watch the movie to understand it. So, anyway, here goes nothing! Two and a half stars. A bit higher than you thought? After the near 20-minute verbal drubbing I gave this movie? This is an extremely rare case. Let me explain.
This movie is the very definition of average. It does nothing exceptionally well, and while you watch it, it almost begs you to drift off and stop paying attention. This is the kind of movie you have playing in the background while you're doing other things. And yeah, there are areas where this movie scores very poorly, especially the color, animation, and cliché storytelling. But what this movie does badly isn't so bad that it's offensive. So why am I so up in arms about this flick? Well, keep in mind, I watched all the Ranma One-Half episodes and OAVs leading up to this, all for the purpose of this review. It's only fair. And in watching all these, I have grown attached to these characters. When beloved characters such as these make the jump from the small screen to the big screen, you want them to be larger than life. You want their specific character beats to hit harder than ever before. You want not just an epic story, but top-of-the-line presentation. You want the movie to be an experience worth waiting for. You want it to be something special. You know, I remember when a group of friends dragged me to see the X-Files movie. I had never seen the series. I hated the movie, but I could tell, even as a non-fan, that it was special. It took those ideas from the series and presented they on a higher plateau. That's all you have to do, and it ain't all that hard. I have to grade all animated movies in a bubble. I cannot let my crazy fandom get in the way. So, for all purposes, this is as middle-of-the-road meh as it gets. A rock-solid 2.5 stars. But when the movie adaptation of a highly beloved property turns out to be just average, that is a gigantic failure. The Ranma fan in me wants to give this 1.5 stars. But that wouldn't be fair now, would it?
So until next time, this is your good buddy Djclyve saying peace out and life is Ranma! I mean, I'll see you in Limbo. What does that even mean? Life is that's the heavy metal rule sign. Life is Ranma? Where did that come from? Life is Ranma, that's stupid.
It's love.